to the correct place. We are in a webinar called Building Capacity for Crisis Response in Youth Work, and we are specifically focusing on learning from Ukrainian youth inclusion. We will try to make this webinar a bit more alive. So from time to time, I will ask you to write some things in the chat so you don't fall asleep. Yes, you can start to be ready for this, and already now to start writing your countries. Where do you come from? So we understand from where do these 24 participants are connected today. So as Iluta said, my name is Kristina Kastranova. I work as a non-formal education trainer for our national agency, but I'm also involved in project work and have been working in many European countries. And the topic of migration and inclusion is very, very close to me. So I hope that also some practical advices and life hacks will be useful from my side today and not only theories. So as Iluta said, the recording will be available of the video, but we also agreed that those who are connected today will have the chance to get the presentation. So in case you don't manage to write down some names, theories, titles, and so on, don't worry, you will get this later. Yes, okay. So I will share my screen and you will see something that was prepared for today. Let's make it bigger. So this is the title. And yes, we are going to be here together for around 1.5 hours. What's in the program? So first of all, yes, we will start with some boring theories, but this is to understand the topic a bit better. So we will understand all around migration and main concepts. Then we will start to speak about why the topic is important, and basically we'll have a look at some statistics. Then is the culmination of our webinar today. We're going to have 3 guest speakers from 2 European countries, from Latvia and Poland. So you will hear some good practices to share their experiences. Then some practical part, where I will share some project titles, some good examples, some tools from toolkits, and even some non-formal education methods to have a better overview of practical solutions. And in the end, a sum up with some advices. If the miracle happens and we will have some extra minutes in the end, it is also a possibility for you to share your comments. So maybe we will read up loudly some of your experiences that you will share in the chat, or you can connect with the microphone and share some opinions as well. Also, feel free during the whole webinar to write some comments or questions in the chat. So we will try to keep an eye on them as well. And basically, Iluta will help with this. Okay, so the boring part, the theories. This is a lot of text, but let's try to understand the main concepts, what migration is in general. So it is a movement of people. And the main thing is that they're moving from point A to point B, from their usual place of residence to another point. This can be either in their own country or outside the country, so to a foreign country. That is why, very logically, the term migrant is a very broad one. It's an umbrella term for any person who is moving from one point to another. Again, it can be within the country or outside the country. And here I want to point attention that in some countries nowadays, unfortunately, the term migrant sometimes is associated with a rather negative definition, also bringing up the illegal migrancy, which is actually not correct, not theoretically, not politically correct. So a migrant is any person moving and not anything connected to illegal migration. Then let's have a look to some particular statuses of migrants. So one very widely known is a refugee. It's a person who is fleeing from a conflict, from a violence or persecution. So basically fleeing from particular political situation that is not safe for the person in his or her country. and the person is seeking and already got the status of international protection. While asylum seeker is the person who wants to receive the status of a refugee, so is still in the procedure of application for the protection in another country. Then another widely used term is IDP, or internally displaced person. Basically, again, it's a migration. It's again fleeing from some unsafe, politically unsafe situation. But the IDP person is not going to a foreign country, but staying within the borders of the same home country. Then another pretty popular, good to know concept is unaccompanied minor, which for youth workers is also a very important term to know, that sometimes youngsters under 18 are traveling, not for pleasure, but forced to travel to another country. And they stay in the territory of the member states, so European member states, and they are unaccompanied. So there is no adult going with them. So basically they're fleeing alone and are especially unprotected. I need special attendance. And then to have a contrast to all this kind of migration, I've also put the term ethnic or national minority, which is also connected to migration. But this is a status of a person who already is established in the new place, and maybe is established thanks to historical conditions. So maybe his or her relatives, ancestors were living and fleeing or moving to this country in previous decades, let's say, in previous years. And now the person is already established and hopefully also integrated in the new population, in the new community. And what is especially important, that the person has own identity. And this identity is based on national or ethnic, as well as religious and linguistic characteristics. So this is a historical migration term. Yes, so the person is already established in the country, while all the other migration statuses are more connected to current migration. Then some words about push and pull factors. Well, basically, people flee, people escape from their countries, always because of something and always for something. There is an aim and there is a reason. So push factors are something bad, negative that happens back in their home country, in their place of residence. So something they want to improve. And that is why the pull factors are the positive factors in the new place that attracts the migrants, and they want to improve their situation. Basically, as you see, environmental, social, economic, political factors can be both push and pull factors, just understanding that it is a kind of a mirror. So anything that was bad and negative in the past, the migrants want to make better and more positive in the future in the new place. Then some more migration theories. I thought that the famous John Barry's acculturation model is pretty important to understand. So we understand better the term of integration and where it is situated in all types of migration and inclusion of migrants in the new society. So on the top ace, we can see the original identity of the person. Yes, so original culture, where the person comes from. While on the left side of the table, there is the new, the host culture. So let's explore each quadrant. What is assimilation? This is when the person already forgets the previous culture identity and becomes more into this new identity. So basically the person and his or her culture just dissolves in the new culture. Marginalization is a no-no case when the person is in a limbo situation, when it is like really in between. So not accepting yet the new culture, but already disappearing and forgetting the old culture. This is marginalization. So becoming kind of an outsider. Segregation, one yes and one no. So it's still keeping the old culture and staying a little bit apart from the new culture in the new country. So making a special group. And then integration is a win-win case or yes-yes situation when the person still remembers the old culture, but is able to integrate and to feel, to understand, to accept, and to get involved in the new culture, in the new country or the new place of residence. As you see, this model was invented in the 80s. So with time, the term integration became a little bit developed, and nowadays it's more common to use the term inclusion. And here on the right, you can see what is actually the difference between inclusion and integration. Yes, so these colorful, nice circles represent different terms as well, which is also based on Berry's model, but a little bit more developed. So you can see that integration is keeping your own culture, yes, your own identity, but staying as a separate group within the new big culture. While inclusion is making a very tasty and colorful fruit salad. So really spreading inside the new society, inside the new culture, and mixing all together. So being more equal with everybody in the new society and not already remembering who is who, but being all together and enjoying this staying together. Okay, then we go further. Why all this is important? Migration comes not only with the positive globalization in our days, but it also comes despite. It comes because of the wars and conflicts happening in the world. And these figures are pretty recent from the 2025. And it said that 1 in every 70 people on Earth are forced to flee. And this is just the official statistics. So the real numbers can be even bigger. So we can see that over 117 million people are forced to flee from their homes because of different disasters and unsafe situations. And out of these, around 30 million are actually refugees, so having the status of a refugee and international protection, while less than 10 are also asylum seekers, so still are in procedure of searching for refugee status. Here specifically was a focus on Palestine refugees in last year, but also we can see that a lot of migration and forced migration is actually IDPs, so internally displaced people. So people are escaping from one city to another within their own country. Okay, and yes, mainly, from where all these huge figures come, most of the forced migration is from Syria, Palestine, and also from Ukraine and South Sudan. And now some more focus specifically on Ukraine. So here on the left is the map presenting Europe and how many Ukrainians were received in European countries. The data is based on the Eurostat statistics of 2025. So we can see that the biggest receivers in Europe are Germany and Poland, over 1 million and a little bit less than 1 million people in each of these countries. Then others as well are pretty big numbers. If we think per capita, yes, per person, then actually the biggest receivers are also Czech Republic and Estonia, for example. On the right, you can see a chart about Ukrainians under protection in EU based on who these people are. Are they men, women, or minors? So basically, this means that most of Ukrainians are ladies coming with their kids to Europe. And these are youngsters under 18 or also girls over 18. This is clearly because of the situation that men over 18 are forced to stay in the country and go to war. So 4.3 million Ukrainians are in EU under temporary protection right now. And the question is how to include them better and what to do with young people, how to help them and include them. So why for youth workers? Because excluding is not anything positive, and excluding brings also a lot of risks. And the risks are possible marginalization, increased inequality, radicalization, and also antisocial behaviors. It can lead also to economic loss and social tensions, and of course also mental health challenges and weak civic participation. So a lot of new people are becoming part of the society, and to live happily together, we need to think of common strategies, how to live happily together and how to invest in young people so they become with full rights citizens and active citizens in our society. So these risks are both to the target group, and these risks are also to the receivers. So the questions are how to receive, how to find, how to attract, how to help young Ukrainians, but also how to keep them safe and included and empowered so they feel active and not only supported. At this point, we can start to involve our guest speakers. As I said, we have 3 organizations today to share their experiences. And the first one will be Lasma Mešsēta, Deputy Chairman of the Board from Vidus Daugavas NVO Centers. If we translate, I believe it will be like Mid-Daugava NGO Center, placed in Jēkabpils. So word to Lasma, and I will also stop sharing my screen so Lasma can tell about their organization experience receiving Ukrainians in Latvia, Jēkabpils. Lasma, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Maybe you can also keep this slide because I will not have presentation any. But yeah, I'm coming from organization Vidus Daugavas NGO Center. And yeah, we are located in the middle of Latvia. And we have, in this year, we will celebrate 20 years birthday. And about Ukrainians, yes, we work with this topic and helping support from first days of Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And when we had possibility to do some project and helping refugees, then we started this help, and it was in 2022. I'm in an organization more responsible about Solidarity Corps projects where volunteers coming to Jēkabpils, but I will tell about this experience also with Ukrainian refugees. Yeah, and we organized a lot of projects during this time, and these projects are funded by Latvia government, Society Integration Fund, and the first activity what we have done was to make the Ukrainian information and helps point. That's where when refugees coming to our cities, they comes here, and we trying to help to integrate in society, about telling activities what we can provide. And also we organized some charity campaigns to help with food, clothes, computers, and also things for starting to live in new place because you are coming, you have nothing with you. Yes, but mostly we can say that also refugees are interested in interesting activities, like what we also provided was culture orientation course sessions. That was first, that how refugees can learn about Latvia culture, history, and so on. And also we have organized day camps, excursions, sport classes, and also Latvian language classes. And also we have support from local Jēkabpils regional government. They also support some courses for Latvian language for refugees. And mainly, if we connected with youth, then youth are coming because their family are joining. And if these activities are interesting for all the family, they are joining and participating in our activities. And also, if I mention this Ukrainian information point, maybe at the moment we don't have a active project connected with Ukrainians, but anyway, they know this place where to come and ask for some help and so on. And this support is continue also nowadays. As I worked with this volunteering project with Solidarity Corps, then this Solidarity Corps also allowed to include refugees in our project. Then connected, I have volunteers from Spain, France, and also joining these two girls from Ukraine, which lives here as refugees. And but need to tell that they can't 100% joining project because they are continue for example to study in Ukraine in online and for example also finding the job and then they connecting they have enough hours to joining in our project, but anyway they are separated some activities. And also this family factor is helping, that it's first who supporting you in this project, but also sometimes stopping. Maybe sometimes you are not joining in some activity because maybe family is not accepting or so on. It's different. Also in first year 2022, when we started to talk with young people to joining in this Solidarity Corps projects, then they wasn't motivated because this funding of money is not so high. Then it's especially for young men, they are choosing more it's better to find a real job and get normal salary. It's what need to take in mind. But if I see that anyway, it's for those girls it's helped and they are now ready to join in other activities connected more with European things. Also, in Latvian case, it's why refugees choosing Latvia because we know Russian language, And also maybe it's slower to integrate in Latvia because they can communicate in Russian language, and sometimes it stopped to learn Latvian and also English language if it's in European projects. Yeah, there needs a special motivation for that maybe. Mainly it's the family is the main thing, that family is close with this youth and support and so on.
Okay, thank you, Lasma. If you're into asking some questions, you can definitely write 1 or 2 questions in the chat so we can manage to answer them now. Yes, well, Ilute is answering about certificates. And then the Lasma, so to sum up, I think it was very important what you said, that it is possible to receive already established, let's say, Ukrainian youngsters who already arrived and already live here in the European country. It is still possible to receive them as European Solidarity Corps, as volunteers. Like normally, volunteers come and they have to travel from their country, while here it is an extra option that they are already here and you can still accept them as volunteers. So those who work with projects can take this into consideration.
It's a good opportunity.
Yes, I think it's a very good opportunity, even though, of course, it's not the proper salary, but still an extra safety and security, both for Ukrainian youngsters and also for the organizations who are working with volunteers.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe they can try here in Latvia, where is close family, and then go to different country of Europe because they like this activity, and
Yes. To summarize what you said, I understand you work mostly with families, and you said that youngsters are coming if they like the activities to which you invite actually families. But if you compare the things that adults prefer and what are these activities that youngsters like the most? So what are they? What attracts young Ukrainians in the activities that you offer?
I think it's the same like all families. They mostly like excursions to explore Latvia. It's like they are ready. It's fast to collect the group for these activities.
Okay, I see. Good. I don't see any more questions in the chat, so I think we say thank you to Lasma. Very good timing. Thank you very much for your experience. While I'm sharing the screen, I just wanted to sum up some statistics from our chat. So we have people from Ukraine, obviously, then also from Albania and Germany and Belgium and Hungary, and several people from Latvia, and then from Romania, and then Czech Republic, and even Pakistan, and then Greece, Netherlands, and Spain. So a very good representative field of Europe today. So hopefully, and Poland, yes, definitely Poland. You see, I'm happy that you're following and not sleeping. And Denmark, very good. Fine. So if each of us takes something positive from this webinar, so in so many countries, there will be a little small positive change in the inclusion of young Ukrainians. The next guest speaker is coming from Poland, the ones who are not sleeping today, but following us very actively. And it's Barbara Małuszczak-Piruk, representing municipality from Lublin, working in Social Participation Office, the unit for cooperation with non-governmental organizations. A very long title, but I believe a very inspiring presentation about how Lublin accepted and empowered a lot of young Ukrainians. Pani Barbara, the floor is yours.
So, hello, thank you very much. Your pronunciation of my name is really impressive. Okay, I don't want to bore you, and I hopefully will present everything in 15 minutes, but it's really hard because we do a lot of things in Lublin. I only want to check that you can see my my screen.
Not yet. I don't see.
Not yet. Oh, wow.
Yes, we see. I see.
You see this presentation involving people with a migrant and refugee background? You can see this, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay, wonderful.
Maybe you can make it full screen.
I don't know how to make it in because it's PDF. I didn't make it in.
See, there are two arrows with maybe that can.
Yeah, this one. Okay, yeah, thank you. You know, a little bit of technical things, and I am confusing. Sorry. So in Lublin, we got a lot of things to do with migrant and refugee background people in the city, and we try to build the whole ecosystem, as you can see from this presentation, because it's not only one project separated from the others. We try to build the sustainable ecosystem, and I believe it's working right now, and we're still expanding this because we've got some different kind of spaces, but they are what they got in common, that they want to include people from all with all background. So despite the fact of your origin, age, economy, or social situation, you are welcome, and I believe it's working in Lublin. We've got some universal spaces, but the civic budget, I will tell you, that it's a little bit confusing for migrants in our city. This name civic, but it's not for citizens, it's for residents. So everyone who is living in Lublin is welcome to participate in a civic budget or school civic budget. I will tell you a little bit more later. But what we've got the whole network of the youth spaces for people from 10 to 30 and you know, in 2022, we were preparing to the European Youth Capital title. It was in the same time when many of refugees came to Lublin after the war. So we were, I can tell, the natural choice for them because of because Lublin is the biggest city in the eastern Poland, and our languages are pretty similar. So it was natural choice for them to come here, and we've got this data that in 2022 we had over 1 million. Actually 1.2 million people from Ukraine. Right now we have got a lot of around 60,000 Ukrainians in Lublin. So it's 1/6 of the whole population of the city. So we've got these youth spaces, the whole network. The first one was Hey. I am right now at the space, who is running by the association Ulica Krótka, and we expanded this network through the open calls in years 2023, 2025, and we had 8 youth spaces, and right now we've got 10, and I believe some of your colleagues are right now in one of them. So from the very beginning, we had a lot of youngsters from Ukraine here in Hey, in this first youth space in Lublin, because the basic premise of the whole network, of the whole youth spaces, are the youth standards developed by the youth group, because every youth space in Lublin has to establish the youth group, something like non-formal board, who is co-running this place with the NGO, with our support as the municipality. So many of Ukrainian youngsters were coming to Hague and build this place together with other people, with other youngsters. We, of course, launched this Baobab. It's an integration center, our flagship central place for integration and inclusion. And I believe you can see this, some of your colleagues from this city visit will see this place too. There we've got, of course, not only youngsters, but every kind of people from many countries, because right now Lublin is really intercultural. We've got a lot of students from Asia, from Africa, so everybody is welcome, especially in Baobab. They provide legal advice, they provide artistic workshops, meetings, and other intercultural things that bring together all these people and try. In many ways, these people with the migrant or refugee background are hosting another people from other countries and showing their culture, their language, their traditions, etc. We've got the centers for local activities, and actually we've got only 2 in Lublin, but right now the open call is launched for this for the 3rd one, and of course it's for all people too, from migrants, non-migrants, from old residents and newcomers, for children and adults, but it's more local, like in the district, for the whole neighborhood in this district. And we launched this year this, I don't know how to translate it properly into English, but it's the Center for support of local activities, but it's especially for NGOs, but non-formal groups or other residents who want to do something with cooperation with the others. So this place is in the old place after Spilno. I believe many of you knows the Spilno. We had 8 Spilno hubs in Poland, but UNICEF finished their job in Poland in 2025. So right now we changed this place into this center for NGOs and this intercultural dialogue. So what we've got in common, every space what I was talking about. So the centers for local activities, youth spaces, Baobab or Spójnik are based on the standards about the language and communication, because everyone who is working, not only youth workers, but other people, animators, coordinators, are multilingual. They got materials, signage, rules available in Ukrainian and in English too. And of course, every spaces are free of charge. So we want to maintain the low threshold of the entrance for every people. And we are very focused on the safety. So every NGO who is working with minors, no matter the fact of their origin, they have to implement the standards for protection of minors. It's our national law regulation. We don't want to build the parallel integration system for migrants. We want to bring them into ongoing things with the others. So as I said, youth spaces naturally host Ukrainian youth who is learning, relaxing, and meeting with other people from Poland, from other countries, with students and adults. Baobab serves multiple nationalities in very cohesive and vibrant environment, and the Baobab is running by many associations, mainly by the Homo Faber Association, who is specializing in protection of human law. And the Centers for Local Activities are for this neighborhood societies included, and they are including, of course, the migrants in this space. We want to build a racial relationship around the trust. So we've got, I believe, this 3 steps. Step first, safe space and relationships. Of course, regular and present, no pressure. It's really important for them, not only for the migrants, but for the old people, that they don't have to sign anything, or someone will be yelling because they wanted to come. They said they will come, but they didn't, and it's in other institutions it could be a problem, not in our spaces. And we try to build long-term trust with every participant of this spaces. As I said, we tried to develop and expand this whole ecosystem in Lublin. So I told about the civic budget, but we've got school civic budget, and a lot of students from many other countries, especially from Ukraine and Belarus, were participated in this process, because this is nice process how to develop democratic processes in schools, because this process brings together not only students and pedagogical staff, but administration, parents, etc. So it's really nice community building process for them, and for us too, for the municipality. Right now, near the Sputnik, with the project stand, we are trying, and we will open it, I believe, in May, the intercultural social garden, and we've got a lot of these bodies for dialogue with residents. One of this is public benefit council, something like this. I can translate it this way, and some of the representatives of NGOs are from Ukraine, and they are focusing on working with the youth and children from Ukraine especially. And as I saw your suggestions about this presentation, what challenges the youth workers and the animators and other staff who is working in these places with the migrants and other people, with other residents. It's about the language barrier, cultural barrier, really often it's psychological trauma, and this fluctuating participation levels. And so we try to bring them together, but to give them tools and knowledge about these tools, how to participate actively and change their small area of life. So we try, as the municipality, to provide trainings, workshops for youth workers and other staff from the spaces, how to work with migrants, how to work with youngsters, how to work with people with psychological trauma or other psychological problems. We had this program of psychological support of youngsters and their families in 2025, thanks to the funds from the UNICEF. And right now we are looking for other funds to to provide this individual consultations and workshops, group workshops for more years, but it's not so easy to find. It's our reality. So this is our suggestions, our tips from Lublin, and I believe I'm after time, so if you have any questions.
Thank you, Barbara. Very beautifully designed presentation. We have a question from Laine, and actually it was something that I also wanted to ask you about. How is the Polish response? So local youngsters, let's say, do they also come to youth centers? Are they active? Do you have any programs for educating also local young people about inclusion and these kind of things? Is there any challenge with that as well?
Oh, we've got many challenges. Sorry, I need to, because we've got some problems with the pipe.
Okay. Okay, so there's a problem with the pipe.
Sorry, I'm here. Yeah.
You were super quick to fix the pipe.
Not me, but it was really loud from the toilet. Sorry. Of course, we've got a lot of challenges. We got really divided society, not only in Poland, like in the country, but in Lublin too. Of course, they are not in the majority, but we still got these voices that Ukrainians should leave our country and go home. There's no war, or you know, many things like this. But fortunately, people who come to these spaces, to the safe spaces, wants to something more from this. So they coming not to argue or looking for conflict. They are going there to find peers, new colleagues, new friends from other countries or from our country too, because you know, we don't make, oh, this is only the meeting or workshops only for Ukrainians or only for Africans. No, this is for everyone. Sometimes you have to be older than 18 because the subject is maybe more difficult to the youngsters, younger youngsters. So we've got this kind of restriction, but everyone is welcome. And as I can see, if we have problems with, especially in youth spaces, it's not with the connections and or conflicts between Polish or non-Polish people. It's about, you know, loneliness, psychological problems, who I believe many youngsters nowadays are facing with many problems with mental health. So this is our main issue.
So I understand that you're not like putting it in the focus that guys, let's come to meet Ukrainian youngsters, but you just announced the activity itself, yeah? And if the topic is interesting, so any young person from any culture, Polish, not Polish, Ukrainian, or any other can come and they do, because you do exciting activities, which is very
sometimes
positive.
but you know we try. When we wanted to launch the first youth space, we asked people what they want. We asked people what they want during the application of the title of the European Youth Capital. And they wanted space when they can act on their own terms. That's why we wanted to open the youth space. And as we can see, as we saw that many of the youngsters who come This time was Ukrainians. We developed the standards with the youth group that everything has to be translated into English and Ukrainian language because many of them are from other countries, so it has to be open for everyone. That's why we operate right, because it was the idea, it was obvious, but it was idea from the youth group and from the youngsters. So they're not focusing of their origin, their nationality. They are focusing on the specific topics, or sometimes they're just coming and sit here and staring through the window. It's okay. The youth spaces is for this, and sometimes they interact with animators, youth workers, and other peers, and that's how we build these places with no pressure, no barriers, safety, and of course safety first. Yes.
Okay, we do have some more questions, but I believe that also our next speakers could actually answer some of the next questions. So let's keep them for them. Thank you very much, Barbara. And I invite the next experience to share. I will not show maybe the slides, not to just to save a bit of time. So Aleksandrs Morozovs from Young Folks, Latvia. Please tell us about your great experience. How do you work with young Ukrainians in the capital of Latvia?
Yes, hello to everybody. I will share also a screen. Sorry.
While you're starting, maybe you can keep in mind one of the questions that appeared here and could be relevant for you. If you did, how did you design any specialized training for youth workers? Yeah, did you have any special approach, especially for youth workers? Okay.
Yeah, I will tell about our experience, and after we'll try to answer the question. So I will tell you about the Young Folks LV. We are based in Riga, in Latvia, and it's very important how we create the system, because now the system work and help us also in working with the Ukrainians and with refugees. So I started to create the youth center, the youth community for my small brother when he was like a teenager, 14, 15 years old. And I took just him, his friends, and it was from the beginning 5 teenagers. And we started to go to the hiking, to watching some films. So at the beginning it was 5 teenagers, and like in 1 year and a half we become 25 teenagers, like it become informal group, like a teenagers community. And now we after like 13 years of the building community, we have maybe 400 youngsters, and we create the system and the platform for 4 different ages. So we have young folks kids from 7 till 11 years, and with youngsters, we do a lot of things for the kids, like a summer school, workshops, excursion, exploring Latvia. Then we have teenagers, young folks, teenagers from 12 till 15 years old. With them, we started to write the Erasmus, different clubs, workshops, sport events. And then we have the third, this age group, the youngsters, youth from 16 till 24. So mostly our team started from 16 years old also. We have around maybe 50 leaders, and they are mostly like youngsters from 16 years old. So with youngsters, we're writing the projects, we leading the clubs. So it's also like separate community for the youngsters from 16 till 24. And 3 years ago, we also opened the club, the community for adults, for parents, and not only for parents, just if you are 25 plus, you can join to our like community, and together with adults, we create around 30 events per month for them, different. So it means that we have 4 communities for different ages, and every month we create around 120 events together with youngsters, with leaders, with adults. And when the war was started, of course, we starting to help the refugees, because everybody in the Riga bus station, for example, me personally, I was there on May 2022, and I saw that on the Riga bus station it was nothing for them. Even toilets was for money. Just refugees coming from occupied territory, and nobody helped them, even from the government. And so we decided to open the volunteering center in the Riga bus station. And there, like, I come to the administration, they give us the space in the Riga bus station, and we collect around 400 volunteers there. And we started to help every day, maybe 16 hours from 8 till midnight. And in the first month, it was like 5,000 refugees in 2022, when it's in the beginning of the war. And so we created like different also this platform or system with the volunteers based on the youth center, on the young folks, with our method of leading. And so also for the Ukrainians, in November 22, we opened the we call it shop, but it was like a place where everybody from society can like give some clothes, things from the kitchen, like a lot of some basic things for the Ukrainians, and everybody from Ukraine can took these things for free. So just came to this shop, and it was in the central market, in the center. So it was very easy for the logistic. And there also, in all these etaps or in all these communities, a lot of Ukrainians also join like team members, and they started to help us, and they also were included to our team, to our work. So the main thing about what I wanted to say also, that the main thing to have the system and platform where Ukrainians can join and also help and also become a leader or become a volunteers. Because, for example, for a shop, there were like 60 people, and maybe 80% it was also the team members was Ukrainians. So they wanted also to help, to support to other refugees, and they did it. And we just together with them, with locals, with Latvians, and together with Ukrainians, we just started to help and for others. So like Barbara also said in previous presentation, that we don't like create separate some processes or some separate platform. We're just trying to include the Ukrainians. If they want to join and be participants, okay, they can join. If they can become a leader or volunteer or help somehow, they, in the same level like locals, just can come and help and be included. So I think if you will have some questions, I will also answer. But together with me, I have Anna. Anna also, I think that will join and tell more from the Ukrainian side, because she also become like a member of our team. And maybe Anna, if you're here, you can.
Yeah. I think we can listen to Anna after some questions to you, Alexander, because there are some organizational questions, let's say.
Of course.
So one thing, it was about any special training for the workers, for the staff. Did you need to prepare them anyhow?
Like specially trained, of course, we got international help, because when we opened the volunteering center and we collect like 400 volunteers there, of course, we started to have like a networking, international networking with the German volunteers, with the Finnish volunteers. And for example, the Israeli trauma center came to us and give us the training how to help to ourselves, how to not to burning out. And so especially for Ukrainians, we didn't create some trainings for youth workers, but some other psychologists and some experts help to us to train us how to not how to deal with all these things, with the trauma, how to speak with people, how to help for ourselves, because it's the also important thing when you are volunteer, when you're every day helping others, it's also to take care of your about you and about yourself.
Thank you. And then another question is about money. Which budget allowed you to do all this work? So maybe you could comment a little bit.
Yeah, we didn't get from the government, from any project, any money. So for this project, like a helping volunteer center, we got like a zero money from some budgets. But we have a great followers. We have great audience. We have like society help us, because we did like crowdfunding, fundraising, donations, when just using our social network and writing what we needed. I don't know, the luggages, we needed to food, we needed some money for logistic, we needed some money for paying for the toilets, for the hostels, and just people around us donate to us money, and we do all these things by our own and with our society, our citizens. So of course we tried also to write some projects, but it's like in every country there are big concurrents, and if you are not good in writing projects, if you not got the, like, I don't know, the 80 points for the project, so it's not that 100% you will receive this money, because the tenders are open for everybody, and maybe 50 companies and 50 NGOs want to apply for this budget. So we didn't got any money for the Ukrainians for the help, but together with volunteers, also with team, we decided that we will help, and we continue help every day till today, also till nowadays. And it's just decision with the volunteers, with our team, that we will spend our money, our time, but we will continue to help till the war will finish.
Thank you very much, Alexander, for the whole great job that you are doing in your organization, and very beautiful experience, truly. Then let's listen to Anna Bilouz from Ukraine, now active in Young Folks. And I just warn you that we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna
yes, but it's really interesting to hear from the point of view of a young Ukrainian who arrived and who got involved. So you can maybe tell about your experience. And I'm very much interested in the turning point when you understood that it's not anymore just help, but you're actually an active part in the organization and in the society.
Hello everyone. My name is Anna. I'm originally from Ukraine, and it's been like a year and a half since I'm in Latvia. So I came to Latvia as a volunteer. And now I'm a youth worker and project manager. I am helping in young folks. I started with working with teenagers, and now I'm working mainly on the projects. And what I love about young folks is it's not just an organization, but a community. As Alexander told you, we have different communities for different ages, but the main thing is that everyone who comes and want to be active, want to do something, it doesn't matter what, I don't know, to have a workshop or just have a meeting with youngsters and watch movies together, or to have a walk in the city, or to travel somewhere, you can do it. And it doesn't matter where are you coming from. We have a big Ukrainian community because a lot of Ukrainians are helping and doing stuff as managers, as designers, as just I don't know, youth leaders. A lot of what is super important for me as a youth worker, that there are a lot of kids and teenagers who are refugees from Ukraine, and it's super hard sometimes when you left all your life there and you're coming to a new country, to find a space and community where you can find people with the same let's say problems, who are like-minded to you, and you can do the stuff together. So, and we are happy that they can do it in young folks, that we're providing with these opportunities. Also, we have our own community, which is called Shajā, and we're organizing some different events connected even to Ukrainian culture, but not only. Also, there are a lot of Erasmus Plus projects where Ukrainians can take part from Latvian side to coming to meet different people from all over Europe. Yeah, and from my personal experience, I would say I'm super lucky because I was really warmly welcomed in Latvia, in young folks. And yeah, I can say that sometimes it's super hard when you think that you had a life previously, and it kind of changed in 2022. My whole family is still in Ukraine, and when you think that people, from my personal belief, that people need people in this life, and it's super cool when you have this opportunity to find people with whom you can become friends. You can just even be colleagues, but you know that you can relate on these people, and it's great that there are such organizations all over Europe and in Latvia too, where you can find this kind of people and you can integrate into community more easy than if it wouldn't be such an opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope I managed on time.
You managed on time, yes, but I still come back to my question. You actually said that you felt involved all the time, I understand, but do you feel, is there any point when you start feeling, okay, now I'm not just one of the many who receives help, but I'm part of this? What makes it?
I would say, as I said, I would say people, when you are feeling that you are invited, not because you need to be invited, but because people want you to have you there. I don't know, to participate in different activities, not only because everyone is participating, but they're okay, Anna, you can come too, and we want you to be there. And especially I would say working with teens help a lot, because for them usually they don't care about anything. I mean, who you are. If you are cool for them, you were there. So, I mean, they are just, they're super sincere in this kind of things. And I would say that it really helped me a lot to integrate. And yeah, I can say I can't maybe name this certain turning point, but I would say, yeah, that's like being in community and being involved is a big thing.
Great. So it's you making the whole process open-minded, and that's why maybe also they're so sincere and open-minded towards you. So it's, you know, it's a circle. Everybody is welcoming and open-minded. So it's very nice. There is one more a bit philosophic question in the chat that I think, Anna, maybe you could answer. What would you say is the priority for young Ukrainian refugees or migrants when moving to another European country? Is it similar or not to other migrant groups? I don't know if you can answer this, but what was your priority? Can you formulate it?
I can try. I would say for like the first thing that came to my mind is obviously safety, because when you're running from the place which is not safe for your life, you're seeking for safety. But another thing, why I'm in Latvia and why I love it is that it's so supportive to Ukraine. If I'm talking like about Ukrainian refugees, not just like any other groups. Because when you feel this support, when like every time when I see Ukrainian flags, I'm like, okay, yeah, we've been heard, we've been seen. So, and it's super important because yeah, it's been 4 years. Like, come on, it's like such a long time. It's the 5th year of the full invasion. It's like more than 10 years of conflict, and yeah, it's like, and it's this human thing to forget things. We all of us are living our lives, and sometimes we don't care what's happening outside of our own bubble. But every time when I see support, it doesn't matter where I am, yeah, like in Poland, in Germany, in France, wherever, every time I see Ukrainian flag, I'm like, okay, we are seen and people remember, and I would say that's this thing which keeps you like moving, and you know that you're not fighting for, like, your country is not only fighting for itself, but for the values and future for of others too.
Thank you very much. As philosophic was the question, the philosophic is also your answer. Thank you very much, Anna, for being so sincere and open with us. Thank you, young folks, in general, for the great work you're doing. Let's continue. We have some 16 minutes left, and let's run through what is left in our webinar. So the guest speakers have done a great job, and we go further. Okay. Obviously, these are not the only organizations who do a great job. And we asked our national agency to give us some examples. Are there other projects, interesting projects? What do other organizations do? So here are just some examples what could be done within projects with Ukrainian youngsters in different organizations. What kind of activities? So it's celebrating common festivals and holidays. It's sharing culture. It's comparing culture. What is, let's say, Latvian, what is Ukrainian, what is in common, what is different. So cultural integration. Then there can be digital projects, a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews, a lot of technical digital work, learning together different digital tools. There can be artistic workshops and also like peace education. So it can be both targeted to Ukrainian youngsters, but it can also be targeted to local staff or volunteers to train them, as you also asked about this aspect, to train them about this work and to promote peace and inclusion. And also there can be different research approaches, asking through surveys what are the needs. And one of the projects is also to create a web stream between young Ukrainians in different countries, focusing on European cultural heritage, for example. So this could be done through solidarity projects, through volunteer projects, through Key Action 1 mobility projects, and also Key Action 2 strategic partnership projects. So actually, yes, I do remember that Alexander said there is a huge competition, and any organization writing a project will be just one of many others writing a project. But let's keep in mind that Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity projects program do offer opportunities for this target group and this topic to be developed. If you look at the priorities, obviously inclusion and diversity is one of the horizontal priorities. So inclusion of young Ukrainians would definitely go under this. But also if you start selecting the topics per each project, sometimes it is support to refugees directly. Sometimes it is support to people in conflict or post-conflict. So this could go under these topics as well. Please keep in mind that there is inclusion support, so also a separate part of budget that can be dedicated specifically to these needs. So also within the projects, there are opportunities, but of course there is competition. If we search for the word Ukraine or Ukrainian in a current project results platform, I could find 131 of projects in the whole European Union. Right now, these are finished or ongoing projects, and hopefully there will be more. I think that it could be more. I also want to point your attention to the thing that sometimes maybe you wrote a project or you started your activity not directly dedicated to young Ukrainians or Ukrainians as such, but it is possible to adapt and to respond to current needs. Such example is our Adventure Spirit project in Latvia, where they already had a local solidarity project about repairing bicycles, but they adapted some actions and they started to do some activities with Ukrainians or collecting donations for Ukrainians, thanks to these bicycle repairing workshops. So the response can also be ongoing, and it's still possible to include young Ukrainians. Then some toolkits and materials that could be useful for you. Here are just some examples. Obviously, if you search in Salto Toolbox, you can find more. These are toolboxes mostly on working with migrants and refugees with the focus on young people. Here are some ideas on how to talk about war, how to react in the situation of crisis, how to be not just polite, but also empathetic, but let's say correct both to yourself and to your target group. Here are some toolkits about migration as such, some theoretical overviews as we did today, understanding what are the differences between refugees and migrants in general, and what could be specific in their needs. And also some very practical methods and approaches, what could be done in, for example, Erasmus Plus projects. We can see that actually many national agencies are involved in this work, not only those who are super active in receiving refugees and who are experienced in this. Yes, so not only countries where refugee camps are already blossoming and doing huge work, but also the newcomers are also creating tools and sharing their experiences. Here is the description of these toolkits. Then, in case you are into non-formal education and you are thinking, but what could be the activities that we could do together? It's not always just psychological work or logistical work of support, but it can be non-formal education activities. So basically anything about multiculturality could work. anything about stereotypes. So the activities could be my cultural identity tree. So we can ask people to think about their own identity first and think that each of us is actually multicultural if we dig a little bit deeper. And this can help to bring people together, not only focus that somebody is new and somebody is already established in the country or in this community. Writing stereotypes, answering if this is true or false. Some methods that maybe sound a bit crazy, but if you search later on, you can explore what it is, like Bogardo scale or Barnga. I highly recommend to explore what it is, and it really works to deal with migration topics in these methods. Different kind of simulations or forum theaters when you can actually play through different situations connected to multiculturality, inclusion, and migration. Always keep in mind that any simulation can bring up a lot of emotions, so it's important to step out of the roles in the end and keep these roles only for the time of activity, so it doesn't continue living with you also in the real life, and you just feel empathetic for that moment, and then you bring the conclusions after the activity. To sum up, some practical advices from everything that we heard. I think the main life hack or the main conclusion was that you don't need to wait for some money dropping from the heavens to start working and to start including young people from any other different culture or country. But you just start from the point where you are, and you start from the actual needs and not just your assumption, not from your stereotypes and fears, but from realistic situation. Like Alexander told us today, we saw that the toilets are not for free in the bus station. So here is the actual need. Let's respond. Proactive outreach, not only waiting for asking for help, but actually offering help. One other practical advice could be working with trusted partners, with people on whom you rely, building the network of volunteers, and sometimes it is starting from 1 or 2 people, but later on it's building up networks. Language barrier. I imagine that in many countries, one of the big fears is a language barrier. How are we going to communicate? But the first thing, as Anna told us today, is actually the open mind and empathy and readiness to accept. If you want to hear, you will be able to hear and to communicate. You can use a translator, you can speak with gestures. The main point is the will to communicate, but it's important before to start actually to evaluate what is the situation. Do you have anybody in your team speaking Ukrainian or speaking any language that maybe is sounding a little bit similar to Ukrainian, or are we going to use any digital tools that are going to help us? So you know what is the real situation, what you can use, and what in the end you will choose for communication, so that you plan your language strategy. And this is also how you reduce the language pressure. So think of some simpler language, maybe, for example, in your visuals that you're going to make. Emotional safety, offer a choice. This is about giving opportunity to young people to actually decide and show themselves. So not only telling this is the help that we provide and this is what you have to do and to take, but actually hearing what are the actual needs and responding on these needs, providing different opportunities so that your target group can choose from opportunities. And a lot we heard about the empowerment and influence decision making. So this is what is actually this turning point when it's not just giving help and expecting gratitude, but it's actually including letting young people from Ukraine or from any other country coming to you being active in decision making, being an active part of the society. Next, there are some life hacks more from my practical work with Ukrainian youngsters. Keep in mind the specifics of the age. As we saw today that mostly these are women coming with kids. And then, so what is the age of these young people? What is the real situation of these young people? Are they in school? Are they included, integrated in the school system? Or they are already out of the school system? For example, in Latvia, the situation is that many Ukrainian youngsters are in our schools, but at the same time, simultaneously, they are still studying online in Ukrainian schools. So they're within two school systems. Anyway, they're pretty integrated. What about those who are over 18? So they are looking for university opportunities, but they're still thinking, maybe I will come back to my home country. So how to support them understanding their needs and situation? Are they ready to learn the language? Are they searching for volunteer opportunities, or they need just studies or maybe some other activities here and now to feel engaged? Yes, so understanding the age and the needs can decide pretty a lot. And then understanding also that the people are fleeing from the war, and these are not just the pull factors. It's not that they chose your country because it's the best country in the world and it offers the best opportunities. It is the country that could give safety for this period of time. So it means that you have to respect the cultural background of the people coming to you and understand that they are not fleeing from poverty or bad conditions, but they are fleeing from unsafety and insecurity. So they need this psychological openness and empathy, and then all the logistical support. So listen and not only talk, and focus on what is similar and not what is different in between you. Empower is the big word. Some more advices on how to get ready. So you can go through this checklist and maybe evaluate if your organization is actually practically ready. But I think the very big life hack from today was just to feel ready, just to be interested in reaching out and including and responding to real needs. Not always the answer is money, not always the answer is support from a local municipality or government or any projects, but the real will to be involved and to let the target group also to decide and to participate in decision making. I think this is all from my side. And in the very end, it's a big thank you to all patient listeners and those who were active in the chat. Thank you very much. There is also an evaluation form to evaluate this webinar, and maybe some last words from Iluta if you want to sum up or say something.
Yes, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all the guest speakers for sharing your valuable experiences, and also to everybody who connected today, and your curiosity and willingness to hear these stories. And yes, I am so sorry that there is a lack of time, and we cannot give also the space for the participants to share their own experiences. But thanks for connecting today. And I see some hands raised, so maybe we do still have time for last questions.
Mm-hmm. It's over 12 o'clock in Latvia, 11 Central European time. So basically the official time is over, but I think one last comment or question we can afford. Yes, so Jamil?
Okay, thank you very much. You can hear me, yeah? My mic is on.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for organizing this. I work in Spain, and we work in media literacy education. We track misinformation online, and we conduct trainings for young people on critical thinking. So I was just wondering if anybody wants to work on projects related to, because I think one of the ways that we could all work together is by sharing contacts and then setting up future projects. So I would like to, if anybody is interested, to share our contacts. Can you do that? I mean, can we share our email addresses that you can share out to the group? Because this is an experience for all of us, and this is a way for us to set up future projects.
I can offer when I will send out the presentations of the speakers, and also some like Barbara had suggestion to collect the questions that she will respond to them in writing, and I will also collect it. I can offer that I also create online shared document where you participants have an opportunity to write in your contact information for future collaboration.
Okay, thank you. Because it was very nice to hear about the work that other people are doing, and there are ways that we would like to collaborate with them.
Yes, so good point. And I see one more hand raised, Kaglanur and Omid.
Yes, I just wanted to also mention, thank you, Jamil, for also sharing that. We also, this topic specifically on misinformation, disinformation, and tackling AI, especially for people that are undocumented, we actually done several projects on that. So I'd be happy to collaborate on that for sure. And if we do have the possibility to exchange contact details after this, then I'm sure that we can develop what we're discussing at the moment to something even beyond what we imagined.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yes, so we can use the opportunity that Iluta offered us. And in the meanwhile, I can use this time for maybe promoting one thing that on the 7th of May, again, Latvian National Agency is going to organize a partnership building online activity for European countries. So if you are interested, maybe you would like to apply for this. And this will be actually the activity where we not only share contacts, but we speak about common ideas for cooperation. So it could be a chance for you to meet once again and speak also about these or other topics. So you can search for this information on Salto. Yes.
I just wanted to ask, is it published already?
Yes, it is.
And if you want to participate, you have to apply.
Yes, I will look for this information, and Iluta can send it to you together with the email and the presentation. Okay. Good. I think that we are ready to finish for now, and a lot of informations and presentations seem to follow after today, so you will receive it by email. Thank you very much for joining and for being so active. Thank you and goodbye.